Big topic is Gran Turismo Sport for beginners. This is a bit overwhelming when you first start, and there's so many events and so many things to choose from that you kind of don't really know what to do as a beginner or starting out. My biggest recommendation, if you're just starting out in this sport, is if you're really new to driving, it's a good idea to go into the campaign and head for the driving school first and try and perfect those things and those exercises in the driving school, as they will help you later on, especially when you start approaching circuits and things. It will help you a lot later on, and there are a few circuits in here in the graduations, like a one lap time attack and another one lap time attack and fuel saving and all of those things. So and trail braking, all of the techniques that would form a good baseline for you is in here. And remember, this is only a baseline, so take it from there. The other thing that is a good thing to approach a race, if you really do not know the circuit, is to go into the circuit experience. It's a huge help just to form, again, like I was saying, a baseline, so that you have an idea what the track feels like and what's good for you, knowing what you can do on track. And if you don't know the track, it helps with those reference points, like certain braking points, like let's take the first part of the Nordschleife, for example. Check out these little videos here in the corner. Not sure if it will play or not. Videos, right? These things, jeez, the joys of Telkom. Internet in South Africa, for some of us, is quite horrible, but it is a good idea to check out these videos. Looks like it's taking forever. Oh well, they put us on pause.
The Nord curve is on a downward descent and requires proper deceleration. Use the control line as your guide to start braking and brake in a straight line.
Oh.
Turn tight around the corner, setting your apex on the far side of the turn to raise your exit speed. At the exit, be mindful of the curbstones, as driving over them will
Disrupt the car, probably. Sorry for that terrible thing, but you sort of get the point. It's a good idea to check those things out and to actually use those things to your advantage. It helps a lot. The other thing to do, and I'll put a link in the description, is to check out David Perel, who's a really good YouTuber and a South African as well. The Key, he gives some really cool lap guides and things, and he's a pretty quick guy. This other channel I've picked up, Basic Ollie, he's pretty cool as well. Provides quite a good amount of information. Mr. MCA, he's also a really good oak to watch, because his tips really help, and his reference points are quite on point. Which also reminds me, if you are struggling with things on track, it's a good idea to, just for example, let's just take Dragon Trail. it's a good idea to have a few assists on. I generally keep some of my assists because my nephew visits quite often, not so much now, but what it really helps is if you have the cones out and have driver lines out, it can help you with certain things. So going into driver options and yeah, assists. Yeah, driver line assist, so you can put a corner indicator on, and that's basically all the assists on. I sometimes tend to use the cones just for good reference, and it just helps with being able to learn the track, especially from if you're just starting out and you're just starting to learn how to do all of these things. It helps. Every little bit helps. So here, just for example, there's a cones to tell you more or less where to brake. I sort of know I can brake a bit later. And that's just an example of using some assists to help you with driving. Then the next point is moving on to sport mode, which is probably what most of everybody wants to go into. What I can recommend is, if you're starting out, don't go and attack race C right away. Race C tends to be a little bit more complex than race A and race B. Race A and race B will typically have no fuel consumption and no tire wear, because driving on those two things is a little bit different to driving just without those things being consumed. Because when you've got tire wear and things, you're going to have to brake a little bit later because the tires are worn, and it's a little bit more tricky to handle. You've got to be a bit gentle on the throttle and gentle with the brake, releasing the brake and things like that. Otherwise the car can spin out, and you don't want that in the middle of the race. Which, yeah, spinning and things doesn't help your cause. You want to be as consistent as possible. So I would say pick a track that you like. If you're starting out, preferably race A, race B. If you're starting to experiment and you're starting to go a little bit more to the intermediate stuff, I would go for race C, because that requires a bit more of a strategy, which what you guys should probably do is test it in arcade mode, because typically the qualifying time trials won't give you tire wear and won't give you those things. So in order for you to work out a strategy for that, it would be best if you actually do a test. And I got an invite for a GT lobby. Yeah, so then I would test in arcade mode. It actually really helps when you're testing, because you get to know how long can I do those laps on that set of tires, how long can I do it on the fuel that's there, and spend time in time trial as well. Though it's a good idea to spend time in the time trial, because it helps you get used to it. And also, yeah, as I was touching a bit all over the place with this, check out the top 10 stars. Check out what they're doing, what car. Typically, if there's more than one car, it gives you an option of another car to choose from, because the top car doesn't necessarily mean that it's the car that would best benefit you. So it would be best to actually test other things as well. So I know for a fact that I would probably go for the Volkswagen over the Huracan, not just because that thing's on the top, but because I know that the Volkswagen is a lot easier to handle than the Huracan. It's a tricky car to drive, and I don't think that I'm the most effective with it. So I would opt for the Volkswagen. And check out these times and like download a bunch of them and view them to see what are the top guys doing versus the other guys, and where you can gain time, because even though like those cones and things are a good guide in the beginning, it's when you start checking out these guys, you start seeing how late you can actually brake, and how late or how early you can start getting on the throttle, which really again will help improve your skills. And testing the full length of the race also really helps. Why? Because what can happen, and I'm not saying it would happen, is I've had moments where it's a really long race and I bombed out because I'm not used to the length of the race, or my lap times are not that consistent because of the length of the race. And yeah, that doesn't work out very well. And also be smart about your practice. Don't try to run flat out from the beginning of the practice session. It almost never really works out. You could spend an hour just trying to get one corner correct because you saw one guy doing that and you want to copy that exact pattern. And yeah, that doesn't work, I think. I'd rather do a slow build up to that point, have a good solid reference point first, and then build from there. See what works, what doesn't work, and that's, I think, what's best. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention in the YouTube section, the other local guys, if you're South African and watching this, is Dino Cantino and KLM Pace's streams. They provide a lot of good information, and I would highly recommend watching those two, because they give lap guides for the Manufacturer Series and Nations Cup, which if you want to participate in, it's a pretty good idea to participate in those things. Yeah, they provide you with a lot more experience, I'd say. It's a little bit more, it's a little bit trickier for if you're just starting out, if you're completely just starting out. But once you get the hang of it, and big shout out to the guys at GTSA, Gran Turismo Sport South Africa, because they are running like Manufacturer Series races in their lobby races, which is absolutely awesome if you are preparing for something like this, and it's making it a lot more accessible for your beginner well, I wouldn't say other beginning drivers. I'm still a noob as well. I mean, I'm a BS rating, which is noob rating. I consider myself still an amateur. But yeah, for the newer guys, it's a huge help, and I would highly recommend it. And I think that's all I think I'm going to cover with this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and let me know what else I should talk about, or if I'm just annoying and should stop right now. Right, thanks guys.